Y'all think I'd be playing, huh? What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Shoddy Reads. I am your host, Sydney. In today's video, I'm going to be taking you through the books that I read in October. For those of you who are new, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future literary content. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you comment down there so I know the type of content that y'all want to see. Let's get into the video. So I started off the month with More Than Enough by Elaine Welteroth, also known as Shoddy's Book Club Pick of October. If you're not following me on Instagram, please go follow me at Shoddy Reads. We do a lot of fun stuff over there, one of them being Shoddy's Book Club. So I love this book for a lot of reasons, mainly because it's so inspirational. And the quote that I found, there were a lot that I underlined and highlighted, but this one I feel really captures the essence of the book. So this is on page 83. She says, "This was a reminder that there is a divine order, a divine flow to our lives. We don't need to have all the answers, but our job is to keep on dreaming and trusting enough to put one foot in front of the other, to keep moving forward, to keep pushing beyond whatever feels confining, to keep searching for where the magic is, to continue expanding, staying open to being stretched, and allowing room to be completely awed by how much better it gets along the way." So I feel like this quote says a lot because first she's saying there's a divine flow, there's a divine order to things. And when you read this book, you can really see firsthand like the divine flow in her life. And I feel like once you can recognize it in somebody else's life, you can start recognizing it in yours. You can start being a little bit more grateful. I like how she says, allowing room to be completely awed by how much better it gets. She mentions a lot in the book that she's a perfectionist. And I really felt that because I would consider myself a perfectionist. This is not something you want to be. This is not a good thing. So for her to say, remember to leave yourself open to be in awe, it's like, hey, you with all those goals over there, you trying to outperform everybody, overachieve or whatever, like make sure you take some time to be grateful and to take a step back and be like, this is where I was, this is where I am, and this is where I'm going. And then always, always, always keeping that faith. Next for October, I read The Stationery Shop by Marjan Kamali. First of all, let's talk about how beautiful this book is. That alone, this is a romance novel, which I normally wouldn't do. If I'm being really honest, it's low-key like The Notebook, the movie The Notebook, because I've never read The Notebook. So The Notebook in book form, even though there's already a book form of The Notebook. Two star-crossed lovers. They are in Iran in the 1950s amidst political upheavals, like crazy, crazy, scary, violent things going on. But they somehow find time to fall in love. And it's such a beautiful story. It's heartbreaking. I read this book. I went to New York in October and I read this book in the airport and on the plane. And y'all, I will say I cried like a baby, shamelessly. In the airport, the woman next to me was probably like, what is this girl reading? Or I don't know, but yeah, like boo-hoo crying. And my favorite quote from the book is this poem that's like their poem, Roya and Baman. Those are the two main characters. So this is like their poem. And when I first read it, I'm reading it like at the back of the book, but it also pops up in the beginning of the book. I like put the book down and I was like, this isn't even like the author's words, I believe. I think this is an actual poem. I can't find here who it's by, or I think it's a Persian one. It's a Rumi poem, there we go, that she and Bahman had first shared in the Stationery Shop. Okay, so it is, look at love, how it tangles with the one fallen in love. Look at spirit, how it fuses with earth, giving it new life. Do we need to run that back? Let's run that back. Look at love, how it tangles with the one fallen in love. Look at spirit, how it fuses with earth, giving it new life. And that's what love feels like. You know, it feels like this new life, this breath of fresh air, but at the same time, look at love, how it tangles with the one fallen in love. Love is a lot more complicated sometimes because there are outside forces that somehow get in the way, it seems. I'm going to stop talking before I tell y'all about this whole book, and I don't need this to be a spoiler alert video. Next for October, I read Go Tell It on the Mountain by James Baldwin. This was a big deal for me because it's my first James Baldwin novel. So I was like, I want to start with like his first major piece of work and go from there. I'll be honest, I didn't love it. I just wasn't completely engaged, but the writing is beautiful and I'm not going to give up. I'm going to read Giovanni's Room next. I got this like really beautiful copy. Anyway, but Go Tell It on the Mountain was like a decent start for me. I wasn't turned off enough where I'm like, I'm never going to read a James Baldwin book again. But the quote that I want to read, or the passage that I want to read, is from page 162. And it's really, I enjoyed this quote mostly because of the way it's written, the sentence structure. But to look back from the stony plain along the road which led one to that place is not at all the same thing as walking on the road. The perspective, to say the very least, changes only with the journey. Only when the road has, all abruptly and treacherously, and with an absoluteness that permits no argument, turned or dropped or risen, is one able to see all that one could not have seen from any other place. In those days, had the Lord himself descended from heaven with trumpets telling her to turn back, she could scarcely have heard him, and could certainly not have heeded. She lived in those days in a fiery storm of which Richard was the center and the heart, and she fought only to reach him, only that. She was afraid only of what might happen if they were kept from one another. For what might come after, she had no thoughts or fears to spare. Beautiful. Next up, my favorite, my homie, my homegirl in my head. We have Love by Toni Morrison. Okay. I'm getting real low on my Toni Morrison novels. I think I only have Tar Baby left, and then I'm done. So Love was bittersweet because I was like, I'm getting to the end of the road. Love definitely is not my favorite, but it's Toni Morrison, so it's still amazing. But definitely, I would say it's not like up there with her greatest works like Beloved, Sula, The Bluest Eye, Paradise, Song of Solomon. Okay, they're all great. But the passage that I pulled from here is actually at the beginning of the book, the preface, the preface, whatever you want to call it, where she gives a little rundown, gives you a little taste of what to expect in the novel, of what her thought process was. So first off, on one page, she says, "People tell me that I am always writing about love. Always, always love. I nod yes, but it isn't true. Not exactly. In fact, I'm always writing about betrayal. Love is the weather. Betrayal is the lightning that cleaves and reveals it." Toni just... So this next passage is where she really explains what you can expect from the characters as the reader. She starts with, "From that initiation into the mysteries and terror of social arrangements evolved the stories of other characters whose vulnerability is turned into shame, into loneliness, the clear sense of having no one on whom one can safely rely. The most bitter betrayal, of course, does not come from an enemy whose deceit one expects. It comes most chillingly from a friend, a trusted one, or one's own self. While marveling at that, I could hardly avoid the parallels between those specific lives and wider cultural ones. I became interested in the manner in which African Americans handled interracial betrayals and the weapons they chose in order to survive them. The decades-long civil rights revolt, like other radical changes, required consensus, mutual love, for success. Dissension, healthy or malign, was frequently understood as betrayal, as lethal as apathy. While the move away from or toward social cohesion is by no means unique to any single people, racial politics, like religion, certainly heightens the stress. Beneath, rather, hand in hand with, the surface story of the successful revolt against a common enemy in the struggle for integration, in this case white power, lies another one, the story of disintegration, of a radical change in conventional relationships and class allegiances that signals both liberation and estrangement. It's a book worth reading, I will say. But really, what makes the book so fascinating is that we've all been betrayed by someone we love. and it hurts so much more, and it seems to breed so much more anger and hate, and you really feel that with these characters. But once you start reading, you're like, there is an undeniable love between these people, which is why they are able to hate each other so much, because love and hate, ooh, they like this. I felt like I was reading this book forever, because I honestly read this book for about 2 to 3 months because I was really trying to take it all in. But it's Dare to Lead by Brene Brown. I've already talked about this book on my channel. I'm actually pretty positive I was wearing this head wrap when I did this book review because I was just talking about what I was currently reading. So I'm done now, y'all. I'm done. I can't wait to read it again because this is like pivotal information on leadership, on life skills, on how to be a vulnerable, wholehearted, functional human being, right? But I will read one of my favorite quotes from the book. Very powerful. It's on page 114. She says, when we deny our stories of struggle, they own us. They own us and they drive our behavior, emotions, thinking, and leading. Daring leadership is leading from heart, not hurt. And this is so powerful because a lot of us have misconceived notions. Is that a word? Misconceived? We have a lot of nutty ideas about vulnerability. She goes through all these myths we have concerning vulnerability. So when something bad happens to us, or we perceive something as bad happens to us, we just want to run away from it. We want to stay silent. Shame loves when we shut the hell up. And what she's saying is when you do that, it's going to come out in your actions, your emotions, your thoughts, your outside world. So instead of allowing these things to take control of your life, you can say, no, that did happen to me and it did suck, but this is what I'm going to do with it. And there's so much power in that. My next October read was Creating Affluence, the A to Z Steps to a Richer Life by Deepak Chopra. So this was a Kindle read, and I did it on purpose because I read the sample and he was basically saying like, here are your steps. And he does go through A through Z. And you're going to want to read them like every single day, 5 pages every day. So it just made more sense to me to have this book on my Kindle or on my phone so I can just pull it out and get some inspo for the day. But one of my favorite passages from this book is the chapter titled G. So G stands for gratitude, generosity, God, gap, and goal. And this is my favorite because I really feel that when you live a life of gratitude, amazing things start to happen. And when you are complaining all the time, things ain't happening for you. So G. G stands for gratitude, generosity, God, gap, and goal. Gratitude and generosity are natural attributes of an affluent consciousness. Since the only thing to go after is the best, the principle of the highest first, why not adopt God as the role model? After all, nobody is more affluent than God, for God is the field of all possibilities. There is a precise mechanism through which all desires can be manifested. These 4 steps are as follows. Step 1, you slip into the gap between thoughts. The gap is the window, the corridor, the transformational vortex through which the personal psyche communicates with the cosmic psyche. Step 2, you have a clear intention of a clear goal in the gap. Being specific is very important. Step 3, you relinquish your attachment to the outcome because chasing the outcome or getting attached to it entails coming out of the gap. This is just really huge, y'all, okay? Like this is some good stuff. So step 4, you let the universe handle the details. You let the universe handle the details. It's important to have a clear goal in your awareness, but it is also important to relinquish your attachment to the goal. And the goal is in the gap. And the gap is the potentiality to organize and orchestrate the details required to affect any outcome. Perhaps you recall an instant when you were trying to remember a name and you struggled and struggled, but with no success. Finally, you let go of your attachment to the outcome, and then a little while later, the name flashed across the screen of your consciousness. This is the mechanics for the fulfillment of any desire. When you were struggling to recall the name, the mind was very active and turbulent. But ultimately, out of fatigue and frustration, you let go, and the mind became quiet and slowly quieter, perhaps so quiet that it was almost still. And you slipped into the gap where you released your desire, and soon it was handed to you. This is the true meaning of ask and you shall receive, or knock and the door shall be open to you, because it's law, okay? If y'all want to read ask and it is given, ask and you shall receive, they'll give you all the details on that, okay? It's literally universal law though. So one of the easiest and most effortless ways of slipping into the gap is through the process of meditation. And there are many forms of meditation and prayer that can help us to manifest desires from the level of the gap. The last book that I read in October, the last book that we're going to discuss, is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Do not have it with me because as soon as I was done, I was like, do you want to borrow it? Do you want to borrow it? Do you want to borrow it? Y'all, this book is so damn good. Let me start by saying I've never read a science fiction novel. And again, on my trip to New York, I asked my homies, I was like, what's your favorite book ever? Like, I know that's a hard question to answer, but like, what's your favorite book? And all of them, Dark Matter, you have to read this. And I was like, okay. So basically what Dark Matter is about is a man gets kidnapped and he wakes up in a life that isn't his. It gets so much crazier and deeper than that. And if you talk about twists and turns and mind F's, are you allowed to curse on YouTube? Anyway, this book has it all. And you will literally be up until like 5 a.m. trying to finish this book because you can't put it down. Like, you have to know what happens. And then as soon as you're done, I don't think it's a book you can reread, because once you know what's actually happening, you're just like, oh my God. Like, you can never be surprised like that again in your life. So I could just rave about this book forever, but honestly, like, if y'all have been waiting to feel that way about a book again, where you're just like, it's all I can think about and everyone needs to know about it, then read Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. All right, y'all, thank you so much for watching. As always, I'm going to link every book that I mentioned in the description box down below so you guys can take a look, so you guys can buy them, read them, give them to your friends. I don't know. I will see you guys next time. Make sure you are drinking your celery juice, your sea moss, staying healthy, going outside, be with nature. Breathe easy.